Welcome back, everyone, to spoiler review here on Mac Talks Movies. Today we're talking about episode 3 of Secret Invasions. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do these type of TV show reviews, other movie reviews weekly, movie rankings now coming back weekly, and also every Monday I do a box office breakdown show. So please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel. Comment down below. Tell me what are your thoughts on Secret Invasions. We're at the halfway mark. Is this your favorite, least favorite episodes? Is this turning out to be one of your favorite or least favorite MCU shows? Let me know in the comment section. Also, please like the video. The thumbs up button is how you support this channel. So please hit that like button. We got a great viewership for the last video. Love, pick it up. Please subscribe. We're almost at 160 subscribers. Thank you so much. So Secret Invasion episode 3 was, for me, I thought it was the weakest of the 3 episodes. Now, not mean that I didn't find it enjoyable, or I really found, I think these were the best conversations that the show has had so far. I mean, other than last week's Rhodey and Nick Fury interaction, I thought the best part about this episode, which I think is what's turning out to be what the show kind of is this relationship between Nick Fury and Talos. And the fact that, and Talos is kind of in the right here, is that without the Skrulls coming into Earth and helping out Fury, Fury probably would have never, or who knows if Fury would have been elevated to the positions that he was at S.H.I.E.L.D., because without all the intel that he was getting from the Skrulls, he'd have never rose in the ranks of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, he would have to do it a completely different way, but it is a fascinating friendship where, again, they both clearly do care about each other on an emotional level, but you can tell even last week, there comes to a point where Talos just feels like he's being used. And again, 30 years ago, he made the promise of the Skrulls finding a new planet, and they're still not even close to finding one. And now there's a Skrull kind of World War III situation happening as this is going on. So I found the Ben Mendelsohn performance to be excellent this episode. He's one of my favorite actors working today, always has been, and this was probably his best performance as Talos in this show, obviously the post-credit scene of Far From Home and Captain Marvel. I think this is his best work in the MCU so far. Not just with Samuel Jackson, but his chemistry with Kingsley Ben-Adir's Gravik. That scene that you can see the picture behind me was a great scene. And there's a lot of obviously mutual type of relationship between Gravik and Talos, but Talos is kind of just done that all of the the Skrulls are taking over, and that the humans are even more powerful when they're being threatened. And you can kind of tell that Gravik is kind of underestimating the humans. We also finally get Gravik saying the word Super Skrulls this episode in the opening scene. And we find out that after Talos, sliced his hand through the knife, he had the powers of, the fire people from Iron Man 3. Of course, now I'm finally forgetting what those people were called, but you see the fire thing kind of pop up. So it looks like that Gravik turned himself already into a Super Skrull, which I find interesting. So we'll see where that goes later. But the whole thing of the episode is kind of a plan from Gravik to set up Gaia this episode. So he learns basically that it was not Brogan who revealed their secret location, that it was obviously Gaia. So he talks to Gaia. Gaia says she's even a good liar. And in the middle of their phone call on the way to Gravik's conversation with Talos, he just blurts out loud the coordinates and all these things to stop this attack, basically. It's a set-up plan to get rid of the traitor. And at first I was like, this is kind of really obvious. I can't believe Gaia hasn't picked up on this. And I still feel like that for this episode. I feel like Gaia was just a bit of an idiot this episode. The fact that why would he say those things just blatantly out loud? And she obviously gets picked up even like saying you're a good liar. Like there was a couple things with her character I just didn't find that very cliche. I think it wasn't bad, just very cliche. So obviously Gaia gives Talos the intel. They go to the Skrull captain's house, who it is. And it's a really good conversation with Talos and this other Skrull who is like, we would have followed you 30 years ago, but not the person that you are now, and all these things. And this then leads to, Gaia figuring out the code phrase to stop the attack. Those 3 kind of main Skrulls in the opening scene, they were the ones who were trying to keep the attack going. Obviously, and the one human captain obviously stopped it, which worked out. And also Talos killing his own Skrull was a big deal. Talos is very against killing his own people, so I think that was a big thing to happen in this show, was for that to happen. So That was a big deal, again, the back and forth between Talos and that scroll was very interesting. That all happens before we get to another. Actually, we'll do the big cliffhanger for this part of the cliffhanger, which is Gaia gets on her bike, runs out of there. I don't know why she had to beat up her own people to get through. She seems pretty high up in the world, but I guess she's not. She escapes on a motorcycle. She gets stopped by Gravik. Gravik puts the gun out, knows it's her. She starts to say something, and he does shoot her. Now, they're trying to implicate that they killed off Emilia Clarke halfway through the show, and I think based off trailer footage, you know that she's not dead. And she probably already became a super Skrull because she knows where the machine is. It'll be interesting if that's how she survived. There was blood. She did go back to her form, but I don't think they would kill Emilia Clarke halfway through the show. And I think based on trailer footage, I think you know that they haven't. Now, so the other big cliffhanger, which is that obviously we officially learned that Fury's wife was the Skrull who introduced him to Gravik. He knows that she's a Skrull. They do a flashback scene setting up information for Dreykov, who was the villain from Black Widow, which I think I liked a lot, which could be even setting up that how he got the intel for the Budapest mission for Black Widow and Hawkeye, which I find very interesting. But he has this very back and forth conversation with his wife, Priscilla, and Priscilla's like you kind of made me a widow for the dust. I was weeping every day. Then you were back and you left me. And this whole thing, she took a phone call that he was clearly listening into. I'm wondering if he, with his glasses, I guess, could hear what she was talking about. But the big cliffhanger, she goes to get this gun from there. And you kind of think she's kind of helping out Gravik. And she's talking, clearly it's the voice of Don Cheadle as Rhodey. Because she says, can I call to Gravik? And he says, you can talk to me. You're talking to me right now. That was kind of the big cliffhanger, was Rhodey. Now, I think the biggest thing that this show needs to do is that they can't establish that the main roads, I think really up until Endgame, cannot be a Skrull. Because again, there's so much emotion with packing with his character. Again, in Civil War, when he takes that huge fall, he bleeds red blood and doesn't turn back to his Skrull form. I think the only way they can convince, I think that they can do Rhodey as a Skrull, this version of Rhodey as a Skrull, is either before or after the Falcon and the Winter Soldier cameo, because I think if they do it Endgame or before, I think it strains and it kills a lot of the emotion on those movies. So I do think it would make sense that they would make someone would capture Rhodey. So again, I don't think Everett Ross is dead, and obviously I don't think that Rhodey is dead. I think there could be a huge escape scene towards the finale where we get back the actual Rhodey and Ross, which I think is probably what they're going to do towards the end of the season. But it's an interesting move to make Rhodey this Skrull, especially because they were talking a lot about living as a Black person in America. That conversation last week. I don't know if making him a Skrull kills that conversation, because obviously if it's a Skrull, it's obviously not a Black person. So it's very interesting what they're going to do with the twist. Because I don't think Rhodey himself is just blatantly helping out Gravik or anything. I think he's clearly a Skrull, but I think they do have to make it clear he was not a Skrull all the way through Endgame. I think after Endgame, then you can start making some things up. But he literally witnesses Tony Stark's death, cries, has an emotional scene at the funeral. They can't make that person a Skrull. So I hope that post Endgame is where they make this change. Just like for Ross, post Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, they make the switch. So we'll see how the show goes. I'm really enjoying the show. It's vastly different from anything they've done in a long time. Very serious, mature show. I think sometimes they try to throw in some comedy. I know the show clearly wants to do these cliffhanger endings every week, but overall, I'm enjoying the show. I still think Gaia needs to be a bit more developed for me. Emilia Clarke's very good in the show, but for me, she's a character that feels like the show wants her to be a very big deal, and I haven't just fully connected with that character yet. But other than that, that's kind of my only major problem with the show. So that's my thoughts on episode 3 of Secret Invasion. We'll be back here the next 3 Wednesdays, breaking down the next 3 as we're at the halfway mark already of Secret Invasion. So please like the video, subscribe, ring the bell. More videos are coming soon to the channel. I'll see you guys soon.